Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to a new episode of Words of Wellness. I am your host, Yassir Al-Manawi, a clinical therapist. Today we're going to be talking about desires, our inner desires to do anything, because each and every one of us, each and every human being have their own desires. And the way we execute that is the difference between balance or unbalance. It's the difference between being right or being wrong. Because these desires, a lot of times we call them the 7 deadly sins, but it goes more than that. Excuse me. We could have a desire, for instance, for knowledge. That's a positive desire. I could have a desire for knowledge about something that's not positive. Is that positive or negative? It's a negative desire, even though it's for knowledge. So we have to be aware of our desires at all times. So I actually chose a verse from the Quran, the translation. I'm going to read that to you, and we're going to get right back into our discussion. It's about Adam and Eve. And this is how it goes. They, Adam and Eve, said after entering from the forbidden tree, "Our Lord, we have wronged our own selves." 7:23. What does that mean, we wronged our own selves? I translate this in our daily life, which is the desire that somebody does something they desire, and then they regret it. And then they feel guilty about it, and then they have remorse. Did they do something wrong against themselves? Yes, they did. Excuse me. So, let's see, what do we do wrong against ourselves? Usually when we do this, I tell everybody, well, keep yourself checked. In therapy, what we call it timeline therapy. What does that mean, timeline therapy? Is that I have to take a look at my actions, or your actions, or anybody's action. They have to be aware of their actions. But in timeline, in relation to times. And they have to pay attention to thoughts and feelings. There are two different levels. You have the thoughts and you have the feelings. So if I have a desire to do something, what am I thinking about before the action itself? I say, what am I thinking about? And I write it down. And then I drop down to the feeling. How do I feel as a result of this thought? And I write down the feeling. That's before the action. And then I forward it. It's like I play it forward. And I say, okay, if I do this action according to my desire, what is most likely to happen? To get to the most likely to happen, I have to have 2 or 3 scenarios. The first one is what is the most negative thing that could happen as a result of my action? That's one. And what's the most positive thing that could happen? And then in the middle, what's most likely to happen? Then I will know what's going to happen. And then I write my feelings as a result of that. That's the second thing. And then I play it forward again. Afterwards. So we have before, during, and after. When I play it afterwards, I say, what am I going to gain for that? Okay, what is in it for me? And how does it make me feel? And how does it make other people feel? So that's the third stage that I have to go through. That's before I act on a desire. So we have 3 stages. Before, during, and after. Thoughts and feelings. Thoughts and feelings in each stage. That way, I will have all the options in front of me before I do something like that. For somebody come and tell me, well, all right, I have a desire to do such and such, and I cannot stop myself. There is no such thing, I cannot stop myself. That's what I teach everybody. You can, because cannot is actually something that is not, it's a human invented word. They invented the word cannot. It's actually two words, the opposite of can. And by the way, since we're talking about this, let me just mention to you that the human brain is unable to perceive negative information, such as cannot. All right? You have to switch it back into the right place. That's what we need to do. You have the desire, you have your spirituality, which is two different elements in every person. I have my spiritual being and my body with the desires that go with it. So to fight the desires, I have to revert mentally into the spiritual being. And those are the two parts that we have to pay attention to. I cannot go and say, okay, I have this urge to do this or to do that, so I'm going to go ahead and do it because it's easier. No, there is a way to fight. And the way to fight is not saying, oh no, I can't do this, and I keep hitting my head with my hand. No, the way to fight is to engage yourself in a different activity with people that will change your desire. Usually, let me talk about a desire, for instance, for somebody who have a desire to smoke a cigarette. And they say, well, I can't live without a cigarette. Smoking a cigarette, if you fight this desire, it comes in times. If you fight it for some time, and if you engage in a different activity, you forget totally about that desire. For what? For about 15 minutes. And then it comes back to you. And then you engage in a different activity, and then it comes back to you. That's fighting a desire. That's why a lot of people will take it, well, all right, fighting a desire is taking it one day at a time. What does that mean, one day at a time? It's almost like a fight. You fight yourself, and that's a self-exertion that we talk about. I always tell everybody in therapy that you have to exert yourself. This is something that is God's given to every and each human being. And we have to apply it to our daily lives. As a result of giving into my own desires, what's going to happen is that the guilt, the remorse, the dissatisfaction with oneself, the shame of oneself. You see, why? Because we're going against our nature as a human being. We're going against what we were supposed to do, which is a positive thing for other people. We are supposed to act positively with other people. We are supposed to act positively with ourselves. We talk about all of this because it's connected to the disease of sadness, depression, isolation, not being able to be social. So we have to pay attention to our desires. We have to pay attention to how we're dealing with it, and we have to minimize it as much as we can and do the positive thing. For that's the only way you get self-gratification and self-respect. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in a different episode of Words of Wellness. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.